So, a good friend, and sister and cousin, and the creator of um, the Bliss.
Creator.
Say it, Kim. Say it, Kim.
The
You,
Bliss Creator.
the Bliss Creator. Yeah, that's how she's. I just wanted to make sure I said it right. And she's gonna tell us like at the end, where you can find her and all that good stuff. But she's here today to just join us and talk about you know, how she creates bliss in her world and how she passes it on. Kim is a very positive, very inspirational person, and I just kind of love being around her because you learn so much often from her. So welcome, Kim.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your
Mhm.
thank y'all for letting me be on here with your ever growing group here. This group, y'all got to tell me your secrets. It's like really growing. I love that.
Yeah. So we're gonna
Yeah,
get started here, Tim.
yeah. So, Kim, big fan always, yes. Uh, and just wanted to know, like, first of all, kind of tell us a little bit about you. Um, where you from? You live in the A, right?
I live in the A now. I'm from the A. I'm a true Southerner. Originally from LaGrange, Georgia, and
Nice.
so I'm a country girl, and but when I was in the fourth grade, we moved to Atlanta, and I went through high school and college, Spelman College, in Atlanta, and then I moved, and boy, did I move! I went to Howard University. Me and Jen
Yay,
have that
me
in
too.
common. Yeah. And I studied computer science. So when I was coming out of school, that was like the thing to do for Black females, right? Like you could get a good
Hmm.
job, right? So
Hmm.
I uh, out of undergraduate, I got hired by AT&T Bell Laboratories, which is the research arm for AT&T, and I immediately was sent off to go and get my master's in computer science. So that's when I went to Howard. I worked
Hmm.
for AT&T for about 12 years as in a lot of different capacities, from systems engineer to project manager to testing to
Hmm.
everything telecommunications. Um, my claim to fame, y'all, is I worked on, anybody familiar with this Star 69 feature? Do y'all
Yeah.
know the Star
Yeah.
69? So I
Okay.
helped to define that feature, which initially was a business feature, but
Okay.
good old Bell South in Atlanta
Hmm.
offered it to residential customers as a kind of beta test. And
Yeah.
oh boy, it took off. It was the whole
Hmm.
girlfriend, boyfriend, Star 69, you call me, that kind of thing. And so we ended up making it a residential feature. That was one of my features. So
Okay. Cool.
that was something I worked on. Um, but yeah, after that, I'm sure you're gonna ask me about Bliss Creator. So one of the things that, as a techie person, one of the things that I noticed is that I wasn't just techie. I actually was very curious about why people behave the way they behave.
Hmm.
A lot of my work involved understanding how people, trying to get into their instinct, like what would they do next? What would they do
Mm.
next? The user interaction with the computer. And so, interestingly, now we have AI, right? Well, that's been around for a long time. And I was
Hmm.
very interested in the psychology behind why people do what they do, and
Okay.
kind of study it on the side, right? And so I ended up, once I got out of the AT&T, my ex-husband and I at the time started a real estate development firm, and we ended up in Columbus, Ohio, really being instrumental in transforming a neighborhood that hadn't been touched in a really long time.
Wow.
We
Mm.
became commissioners of
Yes.
the neighborhood, and
Did an excellent job.
yeah, worked on old houses and transforming them, built new houses.
Mm.
Really got into it. When the market fell, we moved to DC,
Hmm.
and so now enter the Bliss Creator. Our relationship started to stumble, and so ended up getting divorced. But just before that, I've been studying different philosophies and trying to understand, the whys of the world. And it was during that time that I just kind of got this inspiration that, growing up, I had the privilege of having 3 of my great grandparents. And I think that, while a lot of little kids want to, run to the store and get candy, the highlight of my day was running up the street to my great granddaddy's house and drinking coffee, sneaking and drinking coffee with peanut butter, right?
Peanut butter.
Oh my goodness.
Right. But during that time, I felt like they imparted a lot of wisdom, like a lot of wisdom in me. And I always felt like, I live by the golden rule: do unto others as they would have them do unto you. And my grandmother used to say, smile and the world will smile back at you. And so I always smile. Right. So when I'm studying these philosophies, one of the things I developed, like, what do I know for sure? The Oprah question, what do I know for sure for myself? And so starting to merge, the wisdom of my grandparents and great grandparents with my studies. I actually went to Xavier University for a minute too. And so I had to study, Catholicism and all the different religions. And, just putting it all together, I realized, if you are happy, it seems whatever you are, consistently, persistently, you get more opportunity to be that more.
Interesting. Say that again.
So whoever you are, whatever you are, is basically what you're gonna get. So you get what you are. So when you are being whoever you're being, if you really take note, you'll see you get more opportunity to be more of that.
Okay.
And I want to be happy. And I think most of us want to be happy. So I just went about saying, what makes me not be happy? And there was a quote that I never quote perfectly that Nelson Mandela said when he was in prison. He said, I'm in these 4 walls, right? So they can contain my body, but they can't contain my mind. Right. And he said, I can be on the shore of whatever ocean, in my mind, right? Even though my body is sitting right here. And I said, he's right. I can choose to be happy in any moment under any circumstance. And if I do that, then what I know for sure is that eventually I'll get the opportunity to have experiences that actually yield that feeling. Wow. That's how the Bliss Creator came.
And that's one of my favorite quotes with Nelson Mandela, like when he talked about how he was in his mind. Yes. Amazing.
One of the things, absolutely. One of the things I remember somebody talking about what Nelson Mandela was concerned is that they said that the guards said this. They said that he was a prisoner, but he walked around as though he owned the prison.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And you couldn't convince him otherwise, it seems,
And you see, and it took him a while, but
eventually,
not only did he get released out of there, but he became not just the owner of the prison, but the owner of the country that the prison was in.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Power. Yeah. Talk about power.
So what I've heard you say is that, like, we all possess that capacity.
We absolutely do. And unfortunately, the world we live in is not at all conducive, like it doesn't teach us that. It really teaches lack and limitation and borders and, just not having. And so, it runs counter to most of what we've learned growing up. And trying to get people to, we've seen so much evidence of that way that we don't think that there's another way to be.
Absolutely.
And I think that people who actually live this way, it really behooves us, like it's our responsibility to scream it from the mountaintop that this is your universe. You can choose your vibration. I have this thing, I have these this formula.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the frequency of your vibration creates your life.
The
So,
frequency of your
and it's not
vibration.
to say that, yeah, it doesn't mean that, you know, right now I'm sad, so my life is going to be sad.
Okay.
But if I stay in that vibration is a movement, it's something that continues, you know,
Right.
along a spectrum.
Right.
And so if I stay in this, if I'm doing like this,
Mm-hmm.
then that's what I'm gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
And Jennifer,
Okay.
you know, that reminds me of Lamont's thing. She said, a bad wind that don't change. It's a
Bad
bad
wind don't
wind that
change.
don't
Heard
change.
that a lot. I
Interesting.
heard from you a lot too.
Because I didn't understand it when I was little. I was like, what's
Mhm.
she talking about? The wind don't change. I don't know what that means, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
I get it now. It's
Yeah.
anything that stays like this,
Mm-hmm.
right? The only
Mm-hmm.
constant in the universe is change. And so if you're not changing, right? So anyway, but you know, it means that whatever you're consistently being. So if this is happy range, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm,
Mm-hmm.
you know, being in there, then
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get stuff that's in the happy range. If I'm
Mm.
in sad range, I'm gonna get the frequency of stuff that's in the sad range.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Absolutely.
science. It's actually a science.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's scientific in this, especially the whole concept around, you know, I guess we are made of particles ultimately, physically, right?
Mhm.
And all particles ultimately vibrate. I think there's this construct. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is not my area, but string theory. You
Yes,
familiar with that?
I am.
Okay, and it talks about that everything in the universe is actually vibrating
Yes,
to some degree, and
absolutely.
and what I guess what determines the consistency of your subsistence, I guess, is the degree to which you vibrate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. I just appear to be a solid thing sitting here in front of you, but
Mm-hmm.
actually, I extend beyond what you see. First
Yeah.
of all, there's a lot of little molecules and atoms that are attracted to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And
So like
so,
your energy. Yeah.
yes, so it creates this dense appearance.
Mm.
But really, at any point, I might, they call it the aura, right? Like it's,
Ah.
I extend beyond what
Mm-hmm.
you
Your
visually can
aura.
see. But I tell people, you ever you're walking somewhere and somebody walks up behind you, you're not looking, you're looking forward, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody comes up behind you and you know somebody is behind you, right?
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You
They
can
don't
feel
Oh
it.
touch
yeah.
you or anything.
Mm-hmm.
That is their aura. That's what you're feeling. You're feeling their energy
Mm.
before it actually touches you.
Right. Right.
That's
Mm.
the that's the science behind the art of Reiki.
Mm.
They don't touch you,
It's
but
It also works the other way. I know that I've been in a situation where, like after someone has left a place. And so I have had someone go into my apartment because they thought something was wrong with me when I was absent from my apartment. I'm literally out of town. Nobody knew it, but they thought something was wrong with me. So they went in and they checked on me. And I knew somebody had been in my apartment. I knew there was a different kind of energy and I just discern that. So, I mean, it works both ways, I think.
it does. And there is a name for that. And I'm not going to try to do them now, but they're for, the clairvoyance, clear audible, clear essence, and clear something. One of those is what you just described, Jennifer, being able to
Hmm.
like touch an object or something and
Mm-hmm.
know who last touched it or who was there before or something like that. That is an
Mm-hmm.
extra sense that we have
Hmm.
that we kind of
Hmm.
don't
There's this.
really.
Oh, go
Senses.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. Yeah.
There's this construct around spirituality, right? That I think kind of goes with that on some level. You said that we're more than what we're seen as, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is more to me. So there's a saying I love that says we are not human beings that sometimes have temporary spiritual experiences. We are spiritual beings having a temporary human experience.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And when we get that, we'll start to appeal to the spirit or slash energy that we
Mm,
are.
Hmm.
right.
There's a little trend running around right now where they say, I read energy. or
Mm,
something like that. I read energy. Yeah. So your energy precedes you. So if
yeah.
I'm really tuned in, I'll hear that first, see or see, sense that first
Mm,
before you even show up.
Hmm.
interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Yeah. So okay. So then, so you are, in point of fact, a bliss coach. Is
I
that
am.
what you would say?
I really like to call myself like a bliss strategist because
Strategist.
yeah,
Oh,
because
my
coach
bad.
implies like I'm gonna sit you down and I'm
Yeah.
gonna make you accountable for it, just ask you what you want and make you accountable. No, my job in my mind
Okay.
is to empower you with tools and techniques so that you can manage yourself, so that
Mm,
you can decide what you want for your life and yourself, and you can
mm,
create that thing. Because
Hmm.
I feel like we all have the ability to create our lives the way we want.
wow.
And most people do not think that.
Right, right, right. You said
Hmm.
so bliss strategist. I
Yes.
love
The
that. I
strategist.
love that. Uh,
Using sacred technology.
come on now.
Baker.
I had the privilege of studying under Dr. Linda Myers, who is a professor she's a women's studies professor at Ohio State University. And
Okay.
she used to take us under her wings and just, like every week we meet with her and she would teach us some of the ancient rituals,
Mm,
African rituals, but more than just African rituals, all kinds of different things. And
mhm,
I learned so much about the power of your mind, the
mm,
power of your body, the
mm.
power, and then when you mix it in with the powers that surround you, a
Yeah.
lot can happen. And
Mm,
so
Hmm.
I use that when I'm creating my techniques, and it was so encouraging because 2 years ago, I was it 2 years ago or a year ago? I can't remember. Time escapes me. Right? I
mhm.
actually got a certificate in neuroscience from MIT, and when I was studying that stuff, I was like, oh, that's what I was doing. That's why I did this, and that's why
Mhm.
it was so affirming to see
Wow.
that there was science behind a
Mm.
lot of what I was creating.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. I
Absolutely.
love science.
Um, yeah. So okay, so talk to the naysayers. So because like you said, we're programmed to think, what I got what I got, and that's all I'm gonna get. That's my mama had this, my daddy had this,
Right,
my
right,
grandmama had this. There's nothing more that I can have except this. This is my life. I'm just gonna live it and accept it
right.
and
Hmm.
and drink my 40 on the weekends.
You're 40.
And
Right.
I say to those people, that is your choice.
Okay.
Everybody has a path.
Okay.
And if that is the path you choose for yourself in your universe,
Okay.
go at it. Make it
Okay.
happen.
Got
Do
nothing
it.
but love for you.
Yes, because I'm learning, and it took a long time. The art of allowing, right?
Wow.
Hmm. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, please.
So what are we allowing? Why is it so important to say yes? Is that what you mean, like saying yes, or is it beyond that?
It's
Is it
beyond that.
more?
It's saying yes, definitely, but it's okay. So I walked the path at 60-year-old now. I've walked the path in my life, and I've learned a set of things, right?
Hmm.
And so a lot of times when we learn things, we get so excited and we want to share them and we want
Hmm.
other people to get it, right? And
Hmm.
a lot of times my path is really just for me. And
Mm.
so when I try to tell you, or in real reality, my son, Copley, this is how you're supposed to do this. And
Right.
he's like, that's not how I'm supposed to. That's not what
Right.
I have to like allow him to
Mm.
walk his path
Yeah,
Okay.
so
very
that
important.
he can learn
Mm.
possibly more different, better than what my path has revealed to me.
Sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sure. Everybody's on
Yeah.
their own journey. That makes a lot of sense. I love that though, the art
Hmm.
of
The
allowing.
art of allowing.
Hmm.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because we think that our way is the right way, right?
Sure. Hmm.
So I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm right,
And
you're wrong.
that, when I'm right, that means that somebody's wrong, right?
Okay.
Possible.
Gotcha.
So I have to recognize that this is this is my way,
Right.
and you have your way. And if I'm
Your way.
smart, I'll get curious about what your way is to see
Mm.
if we can blend our universes
Mhm.
universes to
Universe.
see what new thing can be created.
Be
Because
creative.
I think we're
Mm.
all here to evolve, like see what the limits are of
Mm.
this thing that we're in.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess on some level, like I think Ford was given Henry Ford was given it says if you believe you can, and if you believe you cannot, you're right.
Either way, either way,
As a man
because we
thinketh in his
really
heart,
are.
so is he.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. As a man thinketh in his heart. Yeah. So interesting stuff. Okay, so then so can you walk us through a bit of like what would a strategy session look like with
Okay.
with a bliss strategist like yourself?
So you
Mhm.
go through, I will go through a typical question session of what's working, what's not working, right?
Okay.
What, how is life showing up for you, period, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how would you like for it to show up?
Mm,
Can you dream?
mm,
What are the possibilities?
mm,
A lot of times people have no idea.
mm.
They don't have dreams,
Okay.
or they don't know the origin of what it is they say they want.
Mm,
And so we start to go down that path.
okay.
All right. And what we end up in, and what I know we end up in, is everybody, whatever it is that you want it because you think it'll make you happy.
Mm, okay.
Typically, that's the only
Mm.
reason.
Okay.
And so then we start to travel down. What does it take to be whatever your version of happy is? What does it take to be happy?
Okay.
Mhm.
Bliss means boldly living in sync with source.
Wow.
So if you are disjointed and misaligned,
Mm,
you kind of live in a kind of chaotic mumbo jumbo. You
yeah.
don't know whether to follow your right mind or
Mm,
your left, or
right.
something somebody else said,
Mm,
or whatever. You don't know where you stand. And so we have to get a handle on what is your life now. So I
mm,
have this Bliss quadrant system that kind of frames your life. And
okay.
it is a combination. So you just think a square with four quadrants.
Hmm.
In the bottom right hand side
Okay.
is the environment. And when I say environment, I mean, what is the environment that you live in? What does it look like? Where are you most of the time? Where is your body
Mm,
located most of the time of your day,
okay.
right?
Okay.
So most people are at home, at work. What does it look like, and what's the feeling associated with that environment?
Mm,
Okay,
Mm.
so let's define that. The second quadrant at the bottom there,
hmm.
on the bottom two quadrants, is influencers. Influencers can be people, places, or things that cause you to help you to make decisions. Okay. So it could be your mama, your daddy, your
Mhm.
grandmama. It could be your son. It could be your boss. It could be the television. It could be the news. It could
Mm,
be anything.
okay.
Right. You need to know what's influencing your
Mm,
decisions.
okay.
So there are a series of questions for each one of those quadrants. That
Mm,
bottom half right there, that stuff, you don't always have full control of,
okay.
but you need to know what it is so that you can work toward getting control of that or being intentional around them.
Okay.
On the top two,
Hmm.
the one is thoughts and feelings, your
Okay.
thinking and your feeling.
Hmm.
So most people have random thoughts, right? And
Hmm.
they don't have any idea what they're thinking half the time,
Mm,
right? And they don't understand the relationship of what they're thinking is causing them to feel a certain way.
okay.
So I have a tracking system where you go through your day and
Mm,
you track what was I feeling, because they can know they're feeling better, and then they can know they're thinking, and then we reverse back and say, okay, so when I was feeling sad, what was I thinking most of the time today? What were my top 3 thoughts today? You know, that kind of. All right, so we track that. And what you end up seeing, the 4th quadrant, is what I call inspired action. Inspired action means the actions that you take are directly related to what's happening in those other 3 quadrants. So we draw the thread between those.
Okay.
And what happens is then we can start to track what's triggering certain feelings that you want and what's triggering certain feelings that you don't want. And what can I do about all those triggers?
Okay.
That's one of the things.
Wow. Okay, I just
So your feelings, your environment, your inspired action, and what else?
Feel it, the environment, the influencers, thinking, feeling, and inspired
Influences.
action.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the tools that we use, and the tool that I want everybody in the whole wide world to do, is what I call bliss snapping. Bliss snapping is one way to raise your vibration up. It could just go a little bit up, or it could go a lot of way up. Either way, we're going up. Okay. And so bliss snapping is a mini meditation that I developed to help people to elevate. Right. And so typically when you have a bliss model that you're working inside of, you can bliss snap and get more aligned, get your quadrants aligned.
Okay.
When your quadrants are aligned, you'll find that the universe will respond in kind.
Interesting.
So it'll start presenting to you stuff that is so on point, y'all, with what you say you want. You'll be like, whoa. And I call those synchronicities. You get these synchronicities and it's like, how did that happen?
So, okay, so let me ask this. So you said get them aligned. So we're talking about my environment, my influencers, and my thoughts and feelings.
Yes.
As all of that lines up with what it is that I want.
Yes. So there's a thread that runs through them, and everyone is unique. So so for example, the first thing I do is I tell people, for your environment, turn the TV off, right? Only turn the TV on when you're very intentional about what you're gonna watch. I just learned this yesterday, this way to explain it yesterday, and I think it's a good way.
Okay.
Think of your brain, right? Your mind. Think of it like there's a projector in there, a projector screen in there, right?
Right.
And your senses, your eyes, your nose, smelling, taste, hear, touch, those are all inputs that are projecting onto that screen.
Okay.
So if you just see a flash one time, doesn't do much. But if you're seeing kind of the same thing, what happens is it's programming. Your subconscious is soaking it in. It takes it in and it is programming your mind. Okay. You want to be, most people are not aware of what's projecting onto their screen.
Right.
They just feel the results of it, the consequences of it. So, but if you get a hold of what gets projected onto your screen, you'll see it'll change your life.
It'll change your life. You know, one of the, so from a clinical perspective, one of the things that we talk about is mindfulness.
Yes.
And so it sounds like that's similar to that on some level, that
absolutely,
you know, I need to be intentional about what's actually coming into my mind, my brain, and on some level being discriminatory as to what I do and do not want.
You're gonna,
and what you tell yourself about what's on your mind too.
Once you get a hold of your model and you get a couple of successes, I call them wins. When you get some wins on your side, you're gonna get real protective. You don't let stuff come in. Like, you know, like you'll start seeing energy creeping. Like if it start coming toward you, you will turn, your body will turn. You'll be, maybe you're still thinking I'm gonna talk to that person, but your body is going that way.
Wow.
You're
because
going the
it's
other
like,
way.
hey, we're not doing that today. We
Mhm.
won't allow it.
Got you. Got you. Interesting. Interesting stuff,
It's
man.
very real, and I know it
Yeah.
sounds like, "Ooh-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo," but I'm
Well,
telling you,
no, I think, so one thing you say a lot, Kim, is I think what you focus on expands.
yes.
And I believe where you put a lot of your attention or your energy, it expands, the more you do that. And, Tim calls it positive psychology. And
I know. I like that.
we were watching this movie yesterday, Cass, how you say
Yeah.
it, Tim? Cass.
It's book based on the book
Blew
cast.
my mind. And I won't tell a lot about it, but
Name of the
there
movie.
was one instance I was thinking about, when you were thinking about when you were talking about environment,
Mhm.
they were talking about the untouchables. These people apparently in India who actually have to deal with the sewers in the place of India where everybody's sewer stuff goes. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
So, and they talked about how they prepare and the people they're with put oil on their bodies before they go into this stuff and clean it's gross. It really is. And I'm like, your environment. Oh my God, what if your environment is
Ooh.
the worst that it could possibly ever be? Like,
Yeah.
how do you get your mind to a place outside of that I mean, because it's so obvious where you are. All your senses are taking it in, your nose, and
Mhm.
I'm not expecting you to have an answer, but I'm just thinking about how some people have the very worst
Environment.
environments,
Yeah. I,
and
I actually
influencers.
I actually read that book, Cass. I haven't seen the
Hmm.
movie that Ava DuVernay, right? She did
Yeah, Ava
Hmm.
DuVernay.
Origin.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I got to see it. But I read the book, and
Yeah.
yes, it very good stuff there, because what you see is, to me, the importance of your senses,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
when I try to say this politically correctly, people who respond to their lower vibrations
Okay.
Hmm.
tend to use obvious things like to discriminate. So race is one of those things.
Hmm.
Color of their skin, the
Yeah.
type of hair they have,
Mm-hmm.
something they can see to say you're different from me,
Mm.
Hmm.
and therefore can't be in my world, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
When really they don't know their world is theirs. My world ain't your world, right? So
Right.
if you don't want me in your world, go over to your world, right? But they think you're in my world, so I gotta clean you out, right?
Mm.
Because I own the
Right.
whole world, right? So, but that book, when I was reading it, it was
Hmm.
interesting to me, because even in India, where everybody is of the same race, they
Hmm.
found a way to discriminate based on who was lighter or darker,
Isn't that
or
crazy?
from a certain, yeah. But it's
Colorism. Yeah.
using it's the lower vibrating beings that use the obvious senses, just vision, and
Mm.
Hmm.
what they can see or something like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I got from that. I remember that because I read the book, I don't know, 2020 or 2021,
Yeah,
Yes,
it
that's
came
how I
out
look
right
at
during
that.
the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
yeah.
But the
So
movie's excellent. Go see it.
I got to
It's actually called Origins.
origin.
Origin is the name of the movie by Ava DuVernay. Hmm.
Yeah, I saw a
But
trailer.
Hmm.
but interesting stuff though. So like, one of the things I always talk with people when we talk about addiction and dealing with addiction. So often you can't change so we talk about people, places, and things, right? And
Mhm.
which I guess sort of equates on some level to environment.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
and what we talk about is that um you can't always separate yourself fully from that, but
Hmm.
you can't isolate yourself from it, but you can insulate yourself
That's right.
Hmm.
That's right.
within it, right? So
Yeah,
that
you can
means
definitely
that
insulate.
even though I'm in this environment, I choose the internal environment of my mind, so that I can actually have a, 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 fertile ground to grow in. I don't
Ex-
know.
Exactly. That's the whole point of the quadrant system,
Okay.
to understand what you can and cannot do. Like I
Mhm.
said, on the lower the environment and influencers, you're not always able to
Yeah.
actually control that, right?
Mhm.
But that's where dreaming comes in. That's where knowing what you want comes in. That's where creating a bliss model that you can live inside of comes in. So I can choose to have, you know, I know where I live, right? My mama don't clean up. My dad is an alcoholic, whatever.
Right.
But in my mind, I live like a princess, you know, or whatever. You know, you can create this space for yourself, and you choose. What you'll find is if you. I tell people, okay, there's a psychology, and y'all can give a name to it. If I say I want a red car, the minute I say I want a red car, all I see on the highway is red
cars.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So when I create this model and I get real specific about what is my environment, what is this, that, then I'm going to start seeing things that map to it.
Yeah.
Even though I'm in this environment where there are things that don't map to it.
Right. Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm only paying attention to what it is I want.
Exactly.
And eventually I know where the world reconstructs around that, and it'll move you into a space where you don't have to work so hard to see it.
And I think the term I tend to use when I'm talking to clients is I become present to what I want. You know, so as I'm present to that, it presents itself. But what's interesting is it may have been presenting itself before I was present.
Definitely it was. But you weren't paying attention.
I wasn't paying attention.
Attention is a special sense that we have.
Oh my
that
goodness.
we don't use to the fullest.
Yeah,
you know, where your attention goes, energy flows or something like that.
Yes.
You pay attention, what you pay attention to, you are creating. You're in creation mode with what you give your attention to.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. And so like, okay, so we're in Black History Month, yes?
Yes.
So one of the things that happens, especially in the Black community, so we talked about a long time ago, I read a book about called Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery by Dr. Naeem Akbar.
Naeem Akbar. I met Dr. Akbar.
You met by Dr. Oh my
Several
goodness.
times. I used to go to the Black Man think tank in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Naeem Akbar, who's from Florida, he would come and always be a speaker. And I got always a chance to at least have dinner with him one time. And he talks really, really fast. Really fast. He has so much information in his head.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Probably got a
That's
lot
my
to
dude
distribute.
right there. That's my dude.
Yeah.
I've read a few of his books. But anyway, he talks about the fact that enslavement really was more a psychological issue than it was a physical issue.
Yes.
You know, because what's true is that if they had to, if the enslavers had to stand over you to make you do what it is that they wanted you to do, that would not have been a profitable system for them, right? Right. But what they had to do was get your mind to a place psychologically where you would do what they wanted you to do, whether they were there or not. Right. And so you know, when Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, he freed us legally and to some degree physically, but not mentally.
No.
And so that our mental freedom is really, that's our business. We have to do that. Right. And so that's what I love about like what you're talking, the things that you put forward is that I get to determine what my internal environment is, what I think, feel, believe about who I am. And that then facilitates my freedom, my success, my bliss. Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so I just want to add to this conversation, like the whole concept of agency, and that we can control and direct where we go in life. And I remember talking to Kim one time about going to we went to a girls' weekend for her birthday, I think it was a couple of years ago. And I was like, Kim, I don't have no money. I was like, I don't know that I could do this in a couple of months. I don't know that I could pull it together. And she was like, it's there. It's there. Trust me, it's there.
Yep.
And we started talking and it was like almost like a magnet. Things just I began to go, oh yeah, I do this, or I can create that, or I can make this. And boom, it was almost like poof, the money just appeared.
Yes.
And I had this whole sense of agency around, where I was going, what I wanted to do, and where the money was coming from, and bam, it
Yep.
came together. And I was literally shocked because I was telling Kim, oh my God, this is
I can't
crazy.
go.
And
Your
she was
first,
like, focus on it, you got
yeah.
it.
The first thing is just to decide, I want
Decide, make a
to
decision.
go. Make a decision.
I want to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
often we don't do that. We're not intentional about our
But we
lives.
don't know that it works.
We don't know
And
that it
that's
works.
why, yeah, we don't know how or that
Mm.
it works. And we
Mm-hmm.
don't have a lot of evidence. We actually, if we paid attention, we would, but we don't have because see, you understand that this
Mm.
works for good and
Yes,
not so good.
and not so good.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
if you look at
works
your
both
life
ways.
and you're creating not so good stuff,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
get that you're creating not so good stuff. And
Wow.
so it takes the same process and energy to create not so good stuff as it does to create good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's just you need to change the subject matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's good.
When we
That's
were
really
getting
good.
ready to move to Miami,
Mhm.
I
Oh
used to,
yeah, you
yeah,
were
I
making some
I
transition.
I said in my head, I said, we had a lovely home where we were moving from, but I
Mm-hmm.
said, we're moving to Miami. I want to see the ocean.
Mm.
I live near the ocean, but I didn't see it every day. I said, I want to get up in the morning. I want to look out my window and see the ocean. And I want
Mm-hmm.
to, feel the anions coming up on me, right?
Mm.
So we went to Miami and we started working with a real estate agent, and I started seeing the prices of the houses that, and I was like, but I said, but you know what? Some millionaire somewhere
Mhm.
is gonna say, I really like those people, and I want them to live in our $1 million home.
Mm-hmm.
I said, or something like that, right?
Right,
Like
right.
I'm gonna wake up in the morning and see the ocean.
Mm.
And I tell y'all, I, I didn't know how or
Mm.
what or whatever, but I told the girl is that the real estate agent exactly what I wanted. I told her everything I want. And
Mm.
she only showed me houses that had an ocean view,
Wow.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Condos that had an ocean view. And
Mhm.
so as we were walking into all these places,
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, how's that sound, BB? I'm asking him like, does this sound okay? And he's like, no. Right. So I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna keep looking. We're gonna keep looking. I never gave up.
Mhm.
And when we walked into the place that we ended up living for 4.5 years,
Mhm.
I
Mm-hmm.
knew it. I said, this is it right here. This is the
Mm.
one.
Mm.
And she said, okay, let me go check on, what they were asking.
Mhm.
And she came back and y'all, it was lower than any other that we had looked at, and it
Wow.
Wow.
fit right into what he said. It's got to be this or lower. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, yes. So every day for 4.5 years, I get up in the morning and I go out and I can see the ocean and I can see the bay and I can see the
Wow.
sky and the horizon every day.
Every day.
It's real. And I tell
Mm-hmm.
people, when you get those wins,
Mhm.
you're going to want to do it again and again.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Hmm.
interesting. Yeah, I guess
Wow.
eventually you start to trust it. Yes.
You will
Uh,
trust it.
because somebody said consistency over time equals trust.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So as I
That's
can be
exactly right.
consistent about it, we had a similar experience, or at least I did, when we built our home in Texas, because
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
for years I had no money, I had nothing, but I would go to these model homes that
Yeah.
looked exactly as I wanted them to, and I
We were
found one of them.
always
I
seeking
was
it
like,
out.
and I would go every day, and
And I
as
got
long
there.
as often as they let me to, and I would go sit in the furniture, and I would act
That's
like I
right.
lived there. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure those people were like, "What is he doing?"
He is creating his life.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's interesting is that a few years later, this is before Jen and I got together. A few years
Yeah.
later,
Mm-hmm.
we actually started building a house, and initially I wanted to build a different house.
Mm.
And Jen
Then
said,
you got with me.
then I got with her. And Jen said, no, let's build this house. And guess what? Guess what the house was? It was
That was
exactly
the house that you
the house
wanted.
that
I'm telling you, when I
it
talk
works
to
if you work
people,
it.
they have so many stories like this, but
Mhm.
they don't pay
Mhm.
attention to them. They didn't realize,
Mhm.
Mm.
oh, that did happen like that.
Yeah,
That's why the vision boards are so
yeah.
important. I
Mm.
use
Mhm.
vision boards to help you to dream
Yeah.
and to
Mhm.
start to
To see
reprogram.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Reprogram your mind. And
yeah,
there is such a thing as reprogramming synapses in your brain to
Yeah.
actually be what you need it to be. And that's how people recover from addictions. That's how people recover from depression and things like that. It's the
absolutely.
Exactly.
same process.
It's
It's the
the
same
exact same
process.
process. But you're right, we don't get taught that. Because often, and this is kind of my bone to pick with healthcare, is that we really it's not healthcare, it's sick care.
It's sick care. You got
They
to be
focus
sick in
on
order for
Mm.
their system to work. Yeah.
exactly. As a matter of fact, I had a meeting with my doctor recently, and I said, look, I don't want to focus on illness. I want to focus on health.
Yeah.
You know, and he looked at me, he's like, what?
You didn't learn that in school.
Yeah, what'd you say? So, but but he kind of got on board, and so we started having that discussion. But anyway, it's interesting stuff, though. Really
Yeah.
interesting stuff.
It really is life transforming. And
It is.
I, sometimes I question how do I know what my purpose is, but I
Mhm.
wonder how do I get people to see, you
Mm,
know, and to know like
mm,
it's not hard. This is
mm.
Mhm.
not hard. And I've known that since I was a little bitty girl.
Really?
Life is easy. It's not
Mm.
hard. You
Okay.
just got to know how it works. I tell
Mhm.
people the computer is modeling us,
Mm.
not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
Mm.
You already have in here
Mm.
all the mechanisms to
Right.
create and do whatever. You just got to know how it works. It's just like learning a programming language. You got to know how it works. And so
Mhm.
that's what the Bliss Creator is. So I don't know what the term is for that. That's why I say is I'm a Bliss strategist. I'm
Yeah.
teaching sacred technology to people who
Yeah.
are awakening to their lives. I don't know how to tell it. That's
Oh, I
what
love
I
it.
do.
What
Well, I
strategist?
love the acronym for Bliss.
Yes,
Mhm.
Say it again. Boldly
boldly living
living
in sync with
sync
source.
with source. Right.
Whatever
Mhm.
your source is,
Whatever your source is.
Mhm.
I think,
God, the universe,
right.
whatever, the
However you
sun, moon, whatever.
however you understand source. Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
And
understand
exactly.
it.
And I think sometimes we get so caught up with resource that we don't pursue source. And
Outside, right? It's got to be, the be do have thing.
okay.
We do it backwards. We
Yeah.
say, well, if I had $1 million,
Right.
then I could be living in my house and driving my red car, and
Right.
then I'll
Yes.
be.
Then I'll be happy.
But the way it really works is
Mm,
there ain't nothing in the whole wide world that's stopping you from first being happy.
being
And
happy.
if you consistently be happy, I
Mm,
know I
Mhm.
just split a verb.
mhm,
You will be presented opportunities to do things that make you happy.
mm.
And then the next thing you know, you're gonna be having all kinds of stuff that's
Oh,
happy stuff
absolutely. So talk about where gratitude fits in.
Mhm.
everywhere, all the
Okay.
time, every day.
Okay.
So when you are not, like we talked about, being in an environment and under influences that are not desirable,
Okay.
your job is to find something to be grateful for.
Mm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
It could be that I can see today the
Mm.
sun.
Mm.
I've been there before where I just said, I really like the dance that this candle light is doing.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's like you're using all your senses to observe,
Yes.
smell, touch, taste, right?
Yes.
Sight.
And,
Yes.
and, and sometimes the best I can come up with is I'm here.
I'm here.
Showed
I'm
up,
present. I'm
right?
present.
But what's true is not everybody could show up today. So,
Mhm.
so yes,
Yeah.
that's something to be grateful for.
So
It is
true.
To have
absolutely.
gratitude about. Yeah, I love that. And so the more gratitude things I see to be grateful for, the more things appear in my life that I
That you
will
can be
be
grateful
grateful for.
for. That's right.
Yes. What was it? What was that movie called? The something of attraction. Law
Law
of
of attraction.
attraction.
Law of attraction. Yeah.
I
Yeah. The
believe
secret. You talking about the
I just
secret?
believe oh the secret. Yeah,
Yeah.
the secret was the movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
And
gratitude
you
is
know, there's some
everything.
pieces of it that are a bit esoteric,
Yeah.
but I mean, at the same time, there's so much life to speaking life.
It is.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what the bliss snapping is all about. Actually, bliss
Hmm.
snapping gets you to arrive at the present moment, right?
Mm.
Hmm.
There is the only power that there
Mm.
is in the presence.
Hmm.
Yes.
There is no power in the past,
Right.
and there's no power in the future because it ain't never happened.
It didn't happen yet.
The only power that is
Hmm.
right now. And
Exactly.
when you
I,
stand,
I I beg to differ on the
and
history because I think the power of my ancestors and the people who've gone before me, there's some power in that and what they've done and the
but that
sacrifices they made.
I
So
agree. That power is nothing if you don't put
mhm.
it in the present.
In use.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I experienced the power in the present. Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I always talk about it in terms of peace, right? Peace happens in the present.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Fear happens in the future. So
Okay.
if I'm afraid of so everything that people worry about or afraid of
Yeah.
typically is something that hasn't happened
Hadn't
yet.
happened. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
The fear is right now. We create the fear in the present about something that
About something that will
either
happen in the future.
already happened and is over or
Mhm.
hadn't happened yet.
Right,
Mhm.
right,
So
right.
gratitude is being present and realizing I'm 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 afraid that I'm not going to be able to pay this bill that's due tomorrow, right?
Right.
I'm afraid of it today. But if I
Okay.
get present to today, I
Right.
can
Mhm.
say, I'm not afraid today because the bill ain't due right now.
Does not do.
Mhm.
Right.
So right now, I'm good.
Exactly. I'm
I
present.
think a perfect example is how I think I was having a conversation with you, I think, Kim, about our great grandmother, Luma, and Luma, when we put all the pieces together about what she did, because people would come to her from all over the town, and they would come see her, and it was just some kind of magic that was created in her room. We
Mhm.
all didn't really know exactly what happened because it was all in private, but when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? That's what I do. I'm a therapist. People come in my room, I tell them stuff, I give them wisdom, and we found out that she had been doing this like several years of her life. And I believe like so when I pass on legacy, when I communicate legacy, like even to my nieces and my nephews, and I tell them about the power of communication, the power of helping others and that kind of thing. I think it's no coincidence that like 4 or 5 or 6 of my nieces and nephews are social workers. And that's what she was. It was
Yeah,
just in a different sense. She was social, she was working, she was helping, and she was doing all those things years and years and years ago before the term social worker was even a thing.
yeah, yeah,
But I mean, it's like here we are, and we're helping people. We're helping them believe. We're helping them see. We're helping them to create, even right with the bliss factor. So I think it's just wonderful to see legacy, and that's why I said that whole power of the past.
yeah.
Bringing it to the
I
front.
understand.
And
I think
making
that
it present is
we
so
are
powerful.
Lema's wildest dream.
Dream.
Well,
Yes.
listen, this has been absolutely amazing. We probably need to transition
Yeah,
out, but I wanted to
because we could do it
ask
forever.
I know we
are there
talking.
final parting words you have of wisdom that you have?
Yeah, and please tell us where to find you and
All
everything.
that good stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I would say if you're curious about the Bliss Creator, you can find me everywhere. I'm on
Mhm.
Instagram as Bliss at bliss.creator. I'm on Facebook as Kim the Bliss Creator. I have blisscreator.com website. You can find me anywhere. I do have a private group that is on Facebook, and you can find me at Kimula Powell on Facebook. Just send me a message and we can talk, right?
Or send us a message.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Or you can go through, the psychology of success to find me as well. I would just say, my main message to people is that you have authority over your life. You can create a good life for yourself. You deserve it. You're here for it. And there's a way to it, and it ain't hard, and it is not so mystical that it can't be done.
Wow, so cool. We got to have a comment from Spencer Tillman. Oh, wow.
Thanks for the perspective. Interesting. He says, my professional experience is success is an effort. Wow, you wrote a lot, Spencer. Spot on regarding agency and gratitude. We also need to be aware of the structure and the function of our biology. Elite athletes tell themselves that the work is the reward. Getting pleasure from the process can supercharge the results you get. Don't forget, don't focus on the other, he says. You are the source. I'm not suggesting that you are God. I'm saying that he has already given you everything you need to thrive. And an athletic example, an athlete can experience a 20 to 60% increase in relative energy output by orientating themselves to enjoy the work. The work is the reward. In order for this strategy to work, do not spike dopamine just before or after you do not work. You will confuse your brain. Train it to only release dopamine only when it's something hard that needs to be accomplished. I can tell you the rewards are great and unlimited for people that can make this their default. Oh, promotions and growth and increase come exponentially to people and teams who master this process. I hear everything you're saying, but there is more to getting preferred outcomes than vibrations, etc. I'm not being disrespectful. I hope it's not perceived that way. I operate in the medical and professional sports domain. I am a director at the nation's leading medical institutions. There is a structure and a function to success. And what she said is true. There is an order to how things function. We need to discover how it works. Good show. Oh, thank you, Spencer. We appreciate your listening today. What
He
a
didn't say this.
wonderful.
And if I can respond to that, go ahead. I'm
He's a
sorry,
former
Tim, go ahead.
professional football player in the NFL. Go ahead, what were we going to say?
I was just going to say he's correct. There is a process to it, and unfortunately, I can't go
all into it.
all the way into it, But the
time,
first thing is creating the environment that's going to be conducive for the work to happen, right?
Exactly.
So you could do the work in a unsupportive environment, and it's hard. But if you create an environment that would allow for the work to happen, my favorite movie is The Wiz. And
The Wiz. Oh, yeah.
yeah, because as you're traveling, first of all, it's a journey and not the destination. And as you're going through your journey, you're picking up the wisdom you need to get on down the road. And so he's correct. If you create an environment where you have all the elements that you need as you're going through your journey, it makes it so much easier, and it happens for you, So I don't disagree. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kim. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Perspective is everything.
Yeah. So
we hold high positive perspective. It helps us so much. It heals.
It does. It heals. We'll have to do this another time. Yeah.
I would love to. Yeah.
You take care. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.